Now, live from the Double Wide Network studio towers, overlooking the fifth largest city in America and heard worldwide, it's Lifeness with Logan Hall.
Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth.
Helping us to be the best we can be, empowering people to make positive choices. And now, your host, Logan Hall.
All right. There's like three times more all rights than there usually is. And you guys, I always start the show off with saying, we've got a great show today. We got a great guest. I'm going to say we have an amazing show today with an amazing guest. I'm not going to tell you who it is yet. You're going to have to do a little bit of inferring after you hear this clip. So go ahead, Lex.
The chance of a lifetime for Luis Gonzalez. 2-2, bottom of the ninth. Game 7 of the World Series. Bases loaded. Floater, center field. The Diamondbacks are world champions. The Diamondbacks are world champions. In the studio, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Luis Gonzalez.
Morning, Logan. How you doing, man?
I'm doing terrific, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. It's early in the morning here, man. You're all riled up.
Oh, no. He is like this every Thursday morning.
Every Thursday morning. This is, Dave, you know it. I bring the high energy. My energy is, we're redlining right here, you guys. If I go into cardiac arrest, pull out the defibrillator and give me a couple pumps on the chest because... You guys, this is just amazing.
You gave him a great intro, by the way. When I'm on the show, Logan goes, Dave's here. You get this.
Big, huge sound clip and all of this. But, I just want to start off, Gonzo, by saying I'm going to do the best I can to hold in my excitement. You remember the first Christmas that you really ever remember going to bed that night and like the next morning before your parents would let you come out and see the gifts and everything, that excitement that you have, like that feeling? Multiply that times 1,000,000 and take it to the third power. Okay, so Gonzo, I'm going to do the best I can to pretend that I'm not starstruck and that I'm not in complete shock and awe that you're here. If I start stuttering or drooling, or I go into this daze, please, somebody
I got you.
Snap their fingers, do something to wake me up because I feel like I'm in a dream.
Gods, I got to tell you, Logan, one of the first times we met, Logan mentioned to me that he's a huge Diamondbacks fan, goes to the games all the time. He's
season ticket holder.
You're friends with Gonzo, so Logan's very sincere, a huge fan forever. And Logan said, hey, would Gonzo ever stop by and be on my show? And I said, hey, Gonzo's really distant, man. He's not good to his fans at all. I don't know if he'll ever make it. So this is really shocking that you're here.
Well, I appreciate it. One of the things that I always try to do, and I've known Dave for a long time, so I always try to make people feel comfortable. I'm a normal guy, just like everybody else is. The only difference is I was able to play a kid's game at a high level and enjoy doing what I did every single day. But man, I still have love and passion to be out there and playing. And when I meet people, I always, you could see sometimes when they're shaking or nervous and stuff, and I try to make that comfort factor fit in because, heck, I was a fan too when I was a little kid. And even the opportunity I had to be in Game 7, win the World Series, the year before and the year before that and all the way till you were a little kid, I was that kid dreaming in my backyard of being the guy, Game 7 of the World Series, or hitting the jump shot, or throwing that touchdown pass and different things like that. So, it's no different being who I am than being who anybody else is.
And I appreciate you saying that, and you got to always put the disclaimer out there, but let's get serious. You're Luis Gonzalez. We understand that. But you are a normal guy, and that's what everyone that I've ever spoken to who's met you says. He's one of the nicest guys you've ever met, and he's a down-to-earth, humble guy. He's not this athlete that walks around with Nike emblem on his chest and, $5,000 for an autograph. You're a normal guy. You give back to the community. You do all types of good things. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the best things that have come about from you that you've been able to turn into the community and some of the awesome benefits. But thanks for trying to make me feel normal, Gonzo. I appreciate you saying that. I'm going to do the best I can. But like
I want
said,
to play on your team.
If I start stuttering, we might have to take a short break. We'll tune it back in. But again, thank you, Mr. Dave Pratt, the morning mayor, for getting Gonzo in here. I met you a couple months ago just out
Absolutely
front when you guys
outside,
were heading out to go do something. And it was just a privilege and an honor. And again, if you don't know who Luis Gonzalez is,
Where you been?
Stop living underneath that rock. You need to get a phone. You need to get a TV. You need to get with it. But we're going to kind of talk about the show more or less 3 parts about Luis Gonzalez. We're going to talk about Luis Gonzalez, the man. We're going to talk about Luis Gonzalez, the athlete. And we're going to talk about Luis Gonzalez, the icon and the philanthropist, the person who gives back to our community with everything that you do. So we're going to talk a little bit about you, Luis. You're born in Florida, correct?
Tampa, Florida.
Tampa, Florida. Went to Thomas Jefferson High School.
Yep.
Now, you went to high school with Tino Martinez.
I did.
How growing up, did you guys play Little League before that together, high school ball?
We played Little League, same Little League, played against each other. I grew up in basically a hotbed of baseball. I mean, there was 30, 40 major league players that came out of that same 25, 30-mile radius that we came, and they were all big league, legitimate, big-name players. Your Wade Boggs.
Hall of Famers. I was seeing from your American Legion post, you had Lou Piniella, Tony La Russa, Gary Sheffield.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it on the way in here. How is it that sometimes there's like a community or an area, like you said, a hotbed for professional athletes? What were they feeding you down there in South Florida, Gonzo? What was in the water? How does it come that so many professional athletes come from such a focused area? And you hear that from time to time, that this high school in Texas has, 3 first-round draft picks this year, or, top 10 recruits out there. How does that happen? Is it just the infrastructure, the legacy that's been there, that's built on year after year? How does that come about?
I think it's it's primarily a Latin community, mostly Cubans.
And you're Cuban American, right?
Correct. My parents were born in Havana, Cuba. So I think it was more of, when you're a young kid, you hang out with your dad, you go, you're riding his coattails. Wherever he goes, you go. And on the weekends, it was the coffee shops, the Cuban coffee with the bread. They dunk it in the coffee with bread and butter, and they'd eat that. And I was the little kid, and I would go in with them, and I would see all the old men either playing dominoes or cards or reading the newspaper. Back then, the newspaper was really big. Now they have computers and iPads.
Newspaper's almost obsolete these days. Black print, black and white.
But they would always check the box score, and they would always look up the local kids. At the time, it was Lou Piniella, Wade Boggs, Fred McGriff, guys like that. And I always would go in with my parents and say, I'm going to be one of those guys that these Cuban guys are looking up my name to see how I did every single day.
Is that how you started as a kid? Just that was what you were built around. That was your life, and you aspired to try to be like some of these guys that were local growing up in your area.
I did. And then as a young kid, just that you got a couple young ones in here that your buddies boys, which is pretty cool.
My best friends, Charles Kwiatkowski, one of my real good buddies. He's the head coach of our surprise Cal Ripken League team, the Angels, and his 2 twin sons, Logan and Isaac, who are the biggest fans of baseball you've ever met. I really wanted to bring them on to introduce them to.
No, and I love it because they're game-faced me, man. When they came in, so you can tell they're ready to play,
Serious.
man.
They're all ball, all business.
Yep, that's good. I love that because these kids, once they get that passion and that drive, they're going to want to do better in school and in playing athletics and different things like that, and that motivates you as a young kid. And that's what happened to me. I was a motivated kid. I didn't come from a lot of money. I knew that my only way to get an education in college was to try to be a good athlete and get good grades in school to try to get to that next level, because there's no way. And even nowadays, college is so expensive for the everyday parent. If you got a kid, man, you want them to either get a merit scholarship.
You need
by
them to
being
get a scholastic or athletic scholarship.
Absolutely.
Because you're talking $100,000 a kid for a college education these days.
And that puts a big hole in your retirement fund or your nest egg when you're trying to.
That yacht you wanted to sail around the world with might be put off a couple of years. Might only be able to sell, from one ocean to the other. But so growing up, always around baseball. Was there a time, Gonzo, growing up that you were aspiring to get to that next level. You knew that you had to either work at it through grades or through your athletic talents. When was the point where you decided, or you thought to yourself, man, I think I've got it. I think that I can do this. I think that I've had the instruction, I've had the coaching, I've got the ability, I've put in the hard work. I think that I might be able to do what every kid grows up wanting to do, become a Major League Baseball. Was there even a point, or did it just progress, and all of a sudden you're in college and in the minors and get the call? What was that like?
Logan, I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. When I was a little kid, I was a small kid. I was
always a small kid too, growing up.
I was the hustler guy, the guy that always ran hard and was always talking on the field and doing everything. I played in high school. Tino was the first baseman. Everybody was coming to see him. All the colleges.
He was the celebrity. He was the focal point.
He was going to be the number one pick in the country with whatever team it was, whatever one of those 30 teams.
He was going to be number one.
So teams were coming to see him. Well, I used that opportunity with teams coming to see him to get noticed somehow. I had to do something out there on that field to get noticed. And that's what happens. That's how other people get opportunities. When coaches or players come to see this one person, they always notice somebody else who sticks out, whether it's an actor, an actress, or, if you're a young kid and you're into theater or whatever, you do something where they go, oh, my God, that guy's great, but this girl over here is really good at what she does. And then people start noticing. Well, I was a kid. I played second base. He was the first baseman. My job was to get on base for him to drive me in. So I did all the little things
ahead of him, and then got the attention.
And then all of a sudden, people are going,
"Hey, this guy's pretty good."
Who's that little scrawny kid out there that everybody, that can't stop talking, and he's always a chatterbox out there on the field? So that helped me get my opportunity to go to college. And then I went to some. I visited University of Oklahoma, and Tino was with me on the Oklahoma trip, but I knew that he wanted to stay home. And this was a guy that I was in his shadows, the whole time. And I knew I had to break away.
You couldn't stay home. You had to get out and go do Gonzo.
Absolutely. I had to get away. And the schools that I visited, they all wanted to redshirt me. You're a little guy. We want to, redshirt you for a year. I didn't want to go to a junior college. I wanted to go to a 4-year school. And I went to a small school called South Alabama.
I saw that down in Mobile, Alabama.
Alabama, yeah. Cuban kid going to Mobile, Alabama.
So that was one of my I wanted to ask you, so how was that coming from South Florida, Cuban kid, going to Alabama? And if you guys have never been to the South, the stereotype, it's the South. But
it's a
being
slower
there,
pace. It's definitely
absolute slower pace, different mindset. How was that, just as far as the cultural change, coming from where you were to Alabama, and then at the same time having a focus on school and sports? But what was the change like going to Alabama?
Well, I'll tell you how it all happened. When I went on my recruit trip there, I sat in the stands, and I was a little kid. I was, 16, 17, whatever age I was in a senior year in high school, and the people were just so nice to me. Didn't know me from Adam, and they were just coming up. Hey, you're going to love this school. We'd love for you to come here and play. And these are just fans in the stands.
Fans,
not
they know
people
that you're
recruiting
you, but just people that want to welcome you to the town.
And they didn't even know what type of player I was. Only the coaches knew because they brought me in on a recruit trip. So I'm sitting there in the stands, and people are inviting me. Would you love to come to our house for dinner? We could take care of you here, because they knew my parents were divorced. I had a younger brother and sister. It was going to be the first time I leave home. That's a big step for an
18-year-old kid.
And when you're the big, you're the big brother and almost playing the dad in your family. That's a big responsibility. But my mom and my brother and sister were very supportive of me, and they told me, you do what you got to do. So I called the coach, and I said, Coach, I'm really thinking about coming to your school. The only thing that I would love for you to do is give me an opportunity to make the club as a freshman. I'm not.
You didn't want a red shirt.
I didn't want a red shirt. I said, I'm not asking you. If I don't make the club, then fine, red shirt me.
At least give me a chance.
Give me an opportunity to make the club. And he says, I'm not promising you a starting position, but I'm promising you that I will give you a chance to make the club.
That's all you can. All you can ask for is a chance.
That's all. And I worked my tail off that whole off season. I weighed about 130 pounds, maybe. My
soaking wet in
my
boots?
kid's a sophomore now in high school, and he's 185. So I'm looking at him and thinking, my gosh, I had to be half his size when I was playing. And I went there as for fall ball and school, and Lo and behold, I was the only freshman starter. They moved me from second base to first base because they had all juniors and seniors out.